Hi everyone, welcome back to Acended Masters 101, where we talk all about the teachings of the Acended Masters. Today we are asking students of the Acended Masters a really interesting question, and I'm so happy they were so willing to open up about this because I think this is really an insightful piece for those of us who are wanting to walk this path, who are trying and working on walking this path every day. And that question is, what is the most challenging part about walking the path of initiation? And was there anything that you were able to do to overcome or to manage it? And I think the context for this question is that this path of initiation, it's not just a lot of fruff or flu or whatever you want to call it. It's a real thing. It's intense. It's hard. You know, the masters don't just give us, some bits of knowledge and we work to apply them in their lives and, you do a few prayers and that's it. It's much more intense than that. It's really intense because there is what's called initiation, and initiation is amazing. It's like the spiritual fire that transforms you, that truly helps you to become the greatest version of yourself. And that doesn't come easily. It's a challenge. It's not easy to be on this path of initiation. Maitreya is what known as the great initiator. He is an Acended Master, well beloved by so many of us. He's also called the Buddha of loving kindness, and we love him so much. And he's also the great initiator. So he brings to us our initiations, our tests on the path. And so it's not always easy, and it's not meant to be easy. If the ascension, which is the goal of life, was easily attained, everybody would easily do it. And there would be so many ascensions every day. And of course, that's the goal. That's what we want, but it's not easy. It's like the spiritual Olympics. It's been the path of initiation has been described as like unto spiritual Olympics. And so, the masters guide us, they love us, they help us every step of the way. It's not something to be scared of or to, shy away from. But it's also not the easiest thing you've ever done. And it's slowly, bit by bit, the tests come to you, and you never get a test that is too hard for you that you cannot do. It's right in that the zone of what is challenging, but is not too hard or too easy. I know in Montessori, I believe they talk about what's called the zone of proximal development. And that is like giving children, students, lessons and tasks that are within the realm of what they can do. It's not too easy, but it's also not too hard. It's a challenge, but it's not undoable, right? And so I feel like that's very much what the path of initiation is like. The masters keep bringing us that next little step. If you can do this, great. Can you do this plus that? Or can you do this in this circumstance? Like, for example, for some context, we know we are encouraged to learn to hold our harmony, which means like holding your peace, not getting upset in different situations. And so maybe first we are taught to hold our harmony just by ourselves. Can you hold your harmony just by yourself? Okay, that's great. What about if you're with somebody else? Can you hold your harmony in your interactions with other people? Great. If you can do that, what about in a marriage situation? What about when kids come along and things get more challenging? And so these different lessons that we are meant to learn on the path of initiation come to us at different levels as we progress and go up the spiral in these different areas of our lives and these different qualities and virtues that we are learning to put on. And so without going into that too much, that's a bit of a taste of kind of super broad overview of what the path of initiation maybe is about a little bit. And so in this video, we wanted to ask, what is the most challenging part about being on the path of initiation? And was there anything you were able to do to overcome or to manage it along the way? And these answers are actually very insightful. I learned so much just listening as these lovely people are talking and sharing their insights from being on this path and walking this path for some time. And so I hope you get as much out of it as I did, and let's jump into it.
I think gaining an understanding of what's going on in your world and what is the part of you that is real and what is the part that's unreal. Because we think of ourselves as this flesh and blood body. We think about our history, our path, and so forth. We think that's who we are, and that's part of us. But to understand our higher self, and we really are sons and daughters of God, and to see ourselves in that way versus all our human shortcomings, our mistakes, our things we do that we aren't particularly happy about, understanding those and working with them, but not identifying with them. And I think being objective in terms of what comes into your world, not considering karma who you are, but something to be dealt with. And by doing that, you can always keep your eyes on the prize and know that karma is temporary, but the ascension is forever.
Well, one of the bigger challenges that I had was coming across as a little bit different in my social circles or on my job. I had to get used to that and also appreciate the opportunity to share myself with other people, information about myself, and not being in fear of looking weird or something like that. And it's basically about my lifestyle choices. And so for me, some of my tests had to do with um, making sure I was available to people and not hiding and not worrying about being weird and things like that. But it's different for different people. And one of the things that helped me to get over the challenge of how I look to other people was being plugged into a community with other people who are like-minded. And that was the Church Universal and Triumphant Community Teaching Center of Chicago that I became a part of, and I'm still actively there for a number of years. It was very, very helpful for me on the path.
One of the hardest things is not being able to hide from inner challenges, but it's also something that I really appreciate. And one thing that helps is entering into a childlike state of mind and just being totally open and transparent with God.
I think the hardest part is failing your test. And the only way I've come up with trying to deal with that is to pay more attention.
The hardest part of being on the path of initiation is the fact that you have to face your unreality. There is no running away from it. And within these teachings, you have the tools and you are given the awareness. And by God's grace, can and will overcome. But it just takes determination and discipline. But this is a path of transformation. And it is a wonderful thing to watch as your life progresses, of how you have transformed into more of your Christ-like person.
The hardest part for me was to learn how to distinguish what is my real higher self and what is my lower self, which is called the dweller on the threshold. And the tool that helped me through that was the teachings about the cosmic clock. And we have this wonderful book. It's called Predict Your Future. It's a little intimidating at first, but you get into it and it all makes sense. It totally lines out everything that is going to come your way. You can look at your clock and you can determine when certain kinds of karma are coming back to you at any given time, and you can get very granular about it, whether it's this week or this month or this year or this decade, and be set for that, be ready for it, and then the masters give you the tools for it with decrees.
Yes, the path of initiation can be difficult at times, but it's worth it in the end if you stick with it. And I think if you're constant on the path, it leads to great victories.
The hardest part for me is discerning the difference between light and darkness when it comes to the subtle tests. Discerning between light and darkness for something that's really obvious, that's easy. But when it comes to subtle things, I don't even have an example right now, but when it comes to the subtle things, that's where you really have to listen to your higher self, and you have to figure out which way you're going to go with the decision. And sometimes you make the right decision, and sometimes you make the wrong decision. It's the subtle tests to me.
One of the hardest parts of being on the path of initiation is to overcome those habits that we've had for this life or many embodiments, where we know we're doing things that aren't good for us, and yet we do them anyway. I think another part that is difficult is oftentimes past records come up with something that was very painful. And it's difficult to let go of the pain, to deal with the pain, and then to let go of it. Or it's oftentimes it has to do with forgiveness. And what I found that it really helped me is to go deep within my heart, into the secret chamber of my heart, and to hold on to the love that's in there as I'm walking through the pain, to not let go of the love and feel the flame of forgiveness as it consumes that pain. And that's been a wonderful experience. And for me, what's helped is to use the Saint Germain heart meditations has really helped me with this.
Doing the decrees every day is the hardest part.
I don't see it as being so hard, but I think the main thing is you just need to surrender to the will of God.
I think that one of the hardest parts is that you feel alone. You can be in a group of people, and this was my experience growing up and in college, where I just felt different and I was looking for something different. So I would say that loneliness or aloneness. And what I found is that I love people and I love to learn from people. And so you join with them and where you can join, and you learn from them, and you, such as my family members or other loved ones, and you just join where you can join and agree and love them. And also, I think that you can learn a lot from people from all walks of life. So that's how I've learned to have a mindset of how to be on the path of initiation, where you do experience a loneliness, but also feel that you can be a part of a group.
The hardest part for me is the need for discipline. Practice, practice, practice. I'm still working on it.
The hardest part for me is having to come apart from the people and the things that have been so much part of my life, and the things that I that I like doing. But I managed to do that, and sometimes it's challenging, but I managed to do that by focusing on where I'm going and why I'm here, and what my true purpose is.